Hello everyone, Laura Jewett here with you once again, Realtor with True Realty. I am here today with Allison Kierman of Kierman Law. She is an estate attorney and here to find out a little bit more about wills and trusts and why they're so important to our families. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. So in a nutshell, what does your law firm specialize in? What do you do? What services do you offer?
So we do estate planning, and what that means is sort of your wills, trusts, financial and medical powers of attorney, everything you sort of need to do to get organized in life. And then we also handle what happens after. So we help loved ones figure out probate, trust administration, and just answering questions so they know when they've lost someone kind of what the next steps are.
Okay, so probate comes into effect if there wasn't a full will or trust
Correct.
involved. So
Correct.
kind of
If there's no plan, if there's an incomplete plan, there's kind of improper planning, we kind of see it all.
Okay, very nice. So why is it so important to not run into those scenarios? Why is it so important to have that will and trust?
I think the basic reason is to be organized. It's not for you, right? It's for the people you leave behind. And that can be young children, it could be spouses, it could just be charities or other family members. It's important that you identify what you want to happen to your things and to the people in your life, or even to your pets if something happened to you.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. A lot of times we forget about our four-legged family members. And
That's right. Sometimes our pets love us more than our kids, so we want to take care of them.
That's a very good point. So what is the difference between a will and a trust?
So a will is something that you need if you have young children, because the will is the only document that says who, sort of not inherits, but who takes care of your children if you pass.
Okay.
A will, other than that, is pretty basic. It just says who inherits what when you pass. There aren't a lot of restrictions. A will goes through the probate process. It doesn't have to be awful, but there is some oversight involved in administration of a will. A judge has to approve your actions or approve who inherits.
Okay.
A trust is different. A trust is completely confidential. It's intended not to go through the court system, and it really outlines the details of how the inheritance happens. So if you have minor children, you don't want them to inherit everything at 18, we would hold it in trust for them. So they could inherit a little bit at 25, a little bit at 30. If there's creditor issues, bankruptcy issues, or you're looking to avoid taxes or do some tax planning, all of that happens through the trust, not through a will.
And you can be very specific in your trust and allocating things in a very specific way, in a specific manner, with specific criteria that have to be followed, so it can be really catered to the individual family's needs.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think in particular with real estate owners, the trust is important. It identifies who can inherit the real estate, who gets the income, who gets the principal. If you're doing rental properties, how those rentals, again, both the income and the principal are structured. If you want to keep the business ongoing, right? All those things are best put forth in a trust.
So basically, the more complicated your life, the more assets you have, the more important it is to have a trust in place.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. So what happens, kind of worst case scenario, if someone dies without a will or trust in place and they do have a lot of these assets and things?
So it goes through probate. Again, sometimes that's given as sort of a bad word, a bad name. It doesn't have to be awful. I do probate. I like to think that I help people do it in a nice way. I think the worst case scenario is somebody inherits you didn't want to,
Okay.
or someone you thought would inherit doesn't. So I recently worked with a family and she lost her husband and he was a business owner. And she didn't realize the way the businesses were structured, he owned part of the business and her son owned the other part. Well, when he passed, the son inherited everything according to the business documents, which means that she, who didn't work previously, was kind of left with nothing.
Oh, wow.
And so a plan would have helped that. They would have realized as part of the plan they either needed to restructure the business or they would have provided for her in other ways. Bought a life insurance policy or an annuity, something to give her some income to live off of when he passed.
That's very, because you don't think about, maybe he had a plan for his personal belongings, but not necessarily the business, and that those are two very different things.
Absolutely.
And kind of making sure that, I think we're all guilty of ignoring our documents, life insurance documents, all of that. Just we don't think about it. We don't want to think about it. That's not a fun topic. But I think it is something that we, need to spend some time really making sure that all of the documents jive between
Right.
each other. So.
Right. I hear a lot of, my family knows what they want, or I trust them. And you should. But if it's not written down, signed, and ink notarized and witnessed, it's not legally valid, which means no one has to do it. And people change their minds and people go in different directions in life. And when there is money at issue, you can never really know what someone's going to do.
Yeah, the kind of greed comes out. That's, yeah, an unfortunate side effect. Well, what other things would you like to tell us? Do you think are important for people to know, just regarding your services, and how can they get in touch with you? And if they are interested in a consultation to figure out what their family's needs are.
Yeah, so I work with sort of all families. Some people tell me they're boring, but I still work with them. You don't need a lot of assets. The more assets you have, the more complicated it is. So the more pressing need there is. I think for real estate owners, the key is, let's have your home in a trust. Let's have your business interests in an LLC, roll that into the trust. You want to get organized and get on top of things. I see a lot of spouses who don't know what the other spouse does. And we want to put all the cards on the table. What do we have? Where's our money invested? How do we pay the bills? That sort of education will help make sure that there's continuity if one spouse passes.
For sure.
So I work with all types of families, all types of business owners across the valley. You just have to give me a call in order to schedule an appointment.
Okay, well, we'll definitely include all of your contact information. And then what do you recommend as far as follow-up? Because obviously life changes, things change, right. Assets change. Do you recommend an annual review? Can you do it every, couple? I guess it depends on how complicated your estate is, but
I think life events prompt a discussion.
Okay.
Have you added family, lost family? Do you like your family more or less? There's no judgment. Those types of things prompt a review. But otherwise, I do like to do an annual check-in with my clients. You see the doctor once a year. You see your financial advisor multiple times a year. You should see your estate attorney once a year too. Okay. Let's make sure everything is properly titled. If we've added businesses or real estate, that they're included in your plans. Consistency and staying organized are really just the most important thing every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Hopefully everybody has a little bit more education on the importance of wills and trusts. And Allison Kierman is actually my personal estate planner, and she's amazing. So hopefully you guys will all give her a call and check her out. Thank you once again for joining us. If you have a small business that you would like featured on our website, please feel free to reach out. Thanks so much.